This is Things You Might Not Have Heard, and I am Jay Clifton Payne. I'm here with you today with 8 news stories from the previous day, Thursday, for this Friday, April the 4th, 2025, to give you a rundown of stories that we together came up with as conversational stories. I put them in the list. You gave me a chance to pick, and we'll explain more about how the process works right now. But these 8 stories from yesterday cover information, politics, current events, and pop culture news. And you said Laura Loomer, Benjamin Netanyahu, Joe Rogan, and 5 other stories were really worth talking about for this morning. So we'll have it to you in this morning edition of Things You Might Have Heard. We'll explain the vetting process in just a bit, how these headlines got to be the headlines. So hang tight for that. But remind you that our website home is thisaconversationproject.com for all the details of how we do things here. And you can email me with conversational points or just questions or sharp barbs if you want to. The conversation inbox at gmail.com. Today, as I said, is Friday, April the 4th, 2025. No particular order as the stories are being dropped, but we'll explain how engagement works to get them have a chance to talk about them in this here program. But engagement was big on this one, and we get to see that Laura Loomer, who is back in the good graces of President Trump, apparently is back in his ear as well, as after a meeting with Ms. Loomer, Trump fired National Security Council officials, a good number of them that were basically disloyal. Happening on Wednesday, a meeting with far-right activist Laura Loomer with President Donald Trump presented him with research alleging that disloyalty among his National Security Council was afoot. And so with that, several senior NCS officials were dismissed, including Brian Walsh, Senior Director of Intelligence, and Thomas Brodry, sorry about that, Senior Director of Legislative Affairs, also David Feith, the Senior Director for Technology and National Security. All in the words of Ms. Loomer. Now, known for promoting conspiracy theories and making inflammatory statements, she has been a controversial figure within the political circles for quite some time. And despite her lack of official government role, her influence is still on top of what Donald Trump is saying. She gets in his ear and things happen. Now, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz was present during the meeting with Loomer, so it wasn't just a one-on-one thing. And he's also faced some scrutiny over his management of NSC right now, particularly concerning the use of unsecured communication channels for discussing sensitive information. Oh yeah, Signalgate is still a problem. Trump actually acknowledged that Loomer's input was there, but downplayed the fact that she actually pushed for the firings, saying the staff changes are routine, it's a new administration, things happen, and over time, people get shuffled out. It's what's going to happen with administrations. It's going to happen with him, with the next guy going forward. So don't put too much stock into Laura Loomer saying, I fired some folks, but her input was necessary. We'll just leave it like that. Input also from DOGE, i.e. That being Elon Musk, having some elimination of contracts to help get efficiency. We found that one of the main targets of DOGE and Elon Musk is Deloitte. And he's cut over 120 contracts with them, more than any other firm in the actual purging of the fact of things. The Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, led by Elon Musk, although they say he isn't actually leading it, has cut over 120 federal contracts directly with Deloitte, more than any other consulting firm in the bunch. The real number is actually 127 been affected right now, and that's $371.8 million in taxpayer savings. So it's saving money, but it's not saving trillions yet. The action is part of Trump's administration's initiative to reduce government spending on consulting services, which is done because they try to shore up what they don't have in government contacts and government actual workers to do consultants' work on it. In this case, they're cutting federal employees and cutting their contracts, which means what's going to happen is less services for all of us. You may not like Deloitte or anything they do, or them as a company, or them as people in general, but they're filling gaps that were already gaps need to be filled, and more gaps will come. This we shall see. In response to contract reductions, Deloitte has announced its plans for layoffs because they're not paying people in its consulting division, particularly for government and public services sector. The firm attributes these layoffs to the changing client needs, i.e. they're cutting their contracts, and the moderated growth and some voluntary employee turnover. Eventually, some people see the writing on the wall and they leave on their own and go to someplace else, or they just get tired of where they're going. Some other consulting firms are getting some access as well, including Bose, Allen Hamilton, and Accenture. They've seen some pretty big contract losses over time, and to a lesser extent than the big ones going to Deloitte. The Government Services Administration, or GSA, actually leads efforts to manage the consulting contracts. They manage all the contracts for the government itself, and so they're doing what they can to cut costs on their own in their own agency, and of course evaluating the actual consulting fees to other folks. So it's a group effort because it's always a group effort. DOGE doesn't own anything, but they do tell people what to cut. In this case, a lot of contracts from Deloitte going away and people losing jobs. The other thing about this thing is when you cut these fundings, cut these programs, you cut these jobs, these people who had fairly nice jobs in the first place now have to find more jobs. Now, taxpayer savings is what DOGE is all about. So they're saying they're doing what they should be doing. But a lot of people are joining the markets for looking for new jobs at a very, very auspicious time. Hungary plans to drop its leadership or drop its actually involvement in the ICC as Benjamin Netanyahu is coming to a visit because he has an arrest warrant, and as a member of the ICC, they're supposed to turn him in. This is happening, announcing basically at hours before the flight's going to land in Hungary. I think they're having the meetings right now, but the International Criminal Court is a big court that has very little jurisdiction, but they do have the power and backing of other nations who have the jurisdiction. They have an arrest warrant for Benjamin Netanyahu as the Prime Minister of Israel to arrest him for war crimes, specifically right now with what's going on in Gaza. Hungary is a member of the ICC, and they have decided to basically drop their membership because Netanyahu is on his way to Budapest, if not right now, basically there. So the arrest warrant was put out in November, basically after the attacks for the retaliation for what went on in October in Israel. And so we have this standoff that's not a standoff. The Prime Minister of Hungary, Viktor Orban, just said, no, we're not going to do it. He called the ICC a political court, asserting that its actions overstep its jurisdiction, although he's only doing it now that he has to turn over a big-time name. Before, he was happy to be a part of it for whatever reason. Now, he is not. There are some actual formal steps going through, so parliamentary actions have to move this thing through, and not nations have to actually say, oh, we got your notice, we'll take this in consideration. So expect it to take a little time to get this in there. However, the trip is happening now, so you just have to kind of go with it. They don't have to necessarily enforce it anyway, which is sort of the deal, but in sort of trying to not be hypocrites about it, they're just dropping the actual membership, which makes sense. Many other nations are not members, including us, the U.S., not members of the ICC. So when people like Netanyahu come here to the States, there is no real threat of him going away unless someone's going to do some sort of Jack Ryan, put a bag on his head and sneak him out, which the only bags being dealt with by Netanyahu is essentially we tend to do his laundry. If you hadn't heard that story, just go Google that. Just Google that when the Netanyahu's come to the States to visit, we send them back home with lots of clean laundry. It's a true story. It's the truth. Here's an interesting thing going on right now. New York City is seeing a historic drop in crimes. The police commissioner is telling the world that all the talk about the madness and the criminal stuff going on, all the things are hyped up as sort of the romanticized version of what goes on in New York City, not quite as bad as it's been in a while. They're experiencing a significant reduction in crime during the first quarter of this year, with shootings and murders reaching historic lows. Still there, but lows. Shootings decreased by 23.1% from 182 incidents in the first quarter to 140 in the same period. The murders are declined by 34.4% from 96 to 63. So yeah, 63 murders in 3 months is a lot of murders, but it's not 96. There you go. Police Commissioner Jessica S. Tisch attributed these improvements to the NYPD's precision policing strategies and increased officer presence, particularly in the subway system. Notably, the subway crime has saw double digits decrease, with 0 murders reported in the first quarter, the first time in 7 years. Mayor of New York City, Eric Adams, highlighted these crime reductions as a central achievement of his administration, emphasizing the city's progress in public safety and why you should probably vote for him again. He announced his plans to form a new political party focus on public safety in his re-election campaign. That means he's not running as a Democrat, which opens up the Democratic primary for that Cuomo guy, but Adams running as an independent for his next term to try to stay on as the boss of New York City. And the statistics show that he's getting something done in the way of crime, at least. take a pause from the news. We promise you 8 stories. We'll give you 8 stories, 4 more to come. But first, we need to ask your assistance, ask your help, ask a bit of a favor. If you're enjoying what you're seeing here in this video, or if you're listening to the audio podcast, like what you're seeing where you are. Like it in your podcast app, or like it in the video form of X, YouTube, or Facebook, wherever you're seeing this video. We need more likes on our videos. We need more people to say, this is enjoyable. Because it tells me I'm doing things that are enjoyable. Because if I'm not, I need to do other things. I'll change up the format, change up the stories on things like that. It also tells the algorithms that these stories are enjoyable. We should share it up to more people who aren't subscribed, so they may take it in themselves. If you know people who would enjoy this stuff already, share it with them directly. Hopefully they will like and share as well. And if you're not getting this into your feed naturally, whether it's on your podcast app or it's inside of Facebook, inside of X, inside of YouTube, subscribe, do the follow, the like, whatever it is, that's the currency of the place. Like, share, and subscribe to help us grow our viewership, to help us grow the News Nerd Nation, help us grow in particular. Back to the news. We go to an interesting story that caught my attention, dealing with all the issues that's going on with immigration, and not so much people coming in and out illegally, but people who are here legally, have been here for a while, having issues coming back in. And that's been a big deal. A romance author named Ali Hazelwood has actually canceled her plans to tour the UK because she doesn't think she'll get back into the US when it's over. She had a book tour. Ali Hazelwood has a book tour that was set for the United Kingdom going forward, but she did not really know if she can get back in the States because she's actually originally from Italy. She lives in the States for graduate studies, but she's a native of another nation. And because so many people have had issues getting in and out of this country who don't have the full citizenship, and some people who have full citizenship are having issues as well, she was a bit worried. So she wanted to stay here. She didn't have any issues to kind of fluffle up her stuff with schooling or actual work she's doing. So she canceled her book tour. So, of course, readers are sad. Publishing Penguin Random House, which is her publisher, has not provided details about what they're going to do with her or actual immigration status. All we know is that she's originally from Italy. She is doing studies here in the States, and in normal times, just going back and forth would be no issue. But in times like these, apparently there may be issues. Work with me on this story for a second, because I'm going to read it as the robot editor gave me the notes to it, but it may take a bit more actual nuance, because it's not that Joe Rogan is dropping Trump completely. The headline is sensationalized, and the robot editor didn't make it any better. But Joe Trump is breaking away from some of the love of Trump going forward, at least the public love for some of his policies. The headline we have says, Joe Rogan breaks with Trump, calls Venezuelan deportations horrific. Now, reading directly from the article, Joe Rogan, the influential podcast host and previously vocal supporter of Donald Trump, has publicly criticized the administration's recent deportations actions involving Venezuelan migrants. On a recent episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, Rogan described reports of non-criminal individuals being deported alongside violent gang members to maximum security prisons in El Salvador as horrific and effing crazy. Rogan remarks were prompted by cases such as Andre Jose Hernandez Romero, a 31-year-old Venezuelan makeup artist and asylum seeker. Hernandez Romero was deported after U.S. immigration authorities misidentified his crown tattoos, which are common from his hometown of Capicho, as symbols of the gang's TDA, because tattoos. Despite having no criminal record and fleeing Venezuela due to persecution over his sexual orientation and political beliefs, he was sent to El Salvador's terrorism confinement center, facility notorious for human rights abuses. This is just one of a few people sent down originally on the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, which is only used essentially to get rid of folks during war times, and most so notoriously kind of the backdrop for what they used to make concentration camps of Japanese citizens in the United States during World War II. Now, critics have said it's a bad rule, and of course, judges have ruled it down as well. So now they're just sending folks down there still, but not this rule. But the biggest issue going along with the things going forward, and what Rogan's really kind of upset about, is everybody they deported down there, the administration's been kind of like, sometimes this happens, but in cases where this happens, in this case, they're out of luck. We're not trying to get them back, which is a big crime for this, is they're not really working hard to get people back that they know are mistakes at this point. They acknowledge some mistakes, but not trying to fix them. Some mistakes may have been made by John Oliver, who's now being sued for defamation by a U.S. healthcare executive. Dr. Brian Morley, a former medical director at AmeriHealth Cavitas in Iowa, Ohio looks nothing like Iowa, has filed for defamation lawsuit against comedian John Oliver and his show Last Week Tonight. The lawsuit submitted in U.S. District Court for the Southern District of New York centers on an April 2024 episode discussing medical services. In this episode, Oliver highlighted Morley's 2017 testimony from an administrative hearing where Morley stated, "People have bowel movements every day where they don't completely clean themselves, and we don't fuss over them too much. People are allowed to be dirty. You know, I would allow him to be a little dirty for a couple of days." So Oliver criticized these remarks, expressing disbelief that a licensed physician would suggest that it's acceptable for patients to remain unclean for periods of time. He further condemned Morley with explicit language, as he does on the show, which Morley asserts was damaging to his reputation. The lawsuit alleges that Oliver and his production company, Partially Important Productions, took his comments out of context to incite outrage and boost ratings. He contends his original testimony referred to minor hygiene issues and did not advocate neglecting patients and care. Suit has damages of $75,000, demands a retraction of the statements. Representatives for Last Week Tonight have denied the lawsuit's validity and intend to contest in court. And they'll probably do another episode about it because we know John Oliver. Not the first time Oliver has been faced with defamation claims. Back in 2017, a lawsuit actually was dismissed, ruling that the show's comments were either factual or protective satire. Satire is a very interesting sort of category of things here. If it's meant to be funny, then you can't really sue somebody for telling a joke. That's why if it's something that's meant to actually be something that's a joke offhand, it really isn't something that's true, no matter how cruel and ugly it is, you can't really sue someone for satire at the moment. If it's really meant to be something that's supposed to make someone look bad and disgrace them and actually ruin their reputation, that's not satire. That is slander, and that's a different thing. Wrapping up the week with a little bit of fun. The Nintendo Switch 2 and new Mario Kart World game are set for June release. Now, JJ has not asked for this quite yet, but trust me, I know it's coming. And my wallet, not her allowance wallet, will be lighter about $500 for this one. Officially coming in at $449.99 retail in June the 5th. The Nintendo Switch 2 console coming out with a larger screen, 7.9-inch 1080p LCD screen, 120 hertz refresh rate. A lot of other things that mean nothing to people except it's really cool. And performance comparable to a PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. So the Switch will actually be able to play some more powerful games at this time. So for guys like me who wants to play the wrestling games on the Switch, maybe the Switch is a better option. Or maybe I should just go get a Xbox One. The Switch 2 actually has more internal storage, expandable storage with SD cards, and supports 4K output when it's docked. Launch of the Switch is coming out with Mario Kart World, a new Mario Kart game that features several of the beloved racing series creatures and some new things as well. 24 players can be supported with this game, including modes like Knockout Tour, where the bottom floor players are eliminated each lap. So it makes it easier to play because it gets rid of the guys that are losing. It offers a free roam mode, allowing players to explore off-road freely, just kind of roam like you want to, and some new characters, including a cow from Moo Moo Meadows and a dolphin from Super Mario World, and expanded chat features as well. So people are excited about the new Mario Kart World and the new Nintendo Switch finally coming out very soon. Accessories should be available this month. Its retailers will get them in stock fairly soon. So very soon, my wallet will be lessened probably for a birthday or so for a Mario Kart World and a brand new Switch 2. We are wrapping up, or have wrapped up the 8 stories for the week. The 8 stories for the day. That would be the 38 stories for the week, 36 stories for the week. I'll do the math one day on that one. And just keep going forward into what's happening. Now, we do have a wrap-up show. We'll talk about the weekly roundup in a bit. But right now, we're going to talk about what we do every single day, even when we don't produce these shows, and that is provide for you stories to engage in to give us reasons to have these chats. So today's story that we're teasing right now, with the headline, we got this story from CBS News, but it's been out there a couple places. One of the biggest issues with DOGE itself and just cutting government jobs in particular from different agencies is that they have to bring people back because they realize the people that they fired, even though they said it was for performance, actually do things that are really important and they need them sitting at their chairs, which is a bit of a dilemma. RFK says that 20% of the healthcare agency layoffs that they had so far, people they already got to go, could have been mistakes. They could have fired some people that they really sort of need right now. Now, HHS is seeing one of the largest batches of people being fired, and you can go in deep detail on the thought process of that one. That is a whole other animal to get into. But what RFK Jr., what Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is saying, that some of the people that they've already fired, about a good 20% of them, a good fifth of them, probably need to be back at their jobs. So we'll see what they'll do to actually bring them back. Read the article, engage in it on our feeds, and if you think it's worthy of talking about, it has the full weekend to fight. So we have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and a teeny bit of Monday to get to. So this is going to take a lot of effort to get into for the feeds, for the show for Monday morning. Now, Monday, because it's more stories to pick from, we give you more stories in the rundown. 10 stories instead of 8. But we have 90 or so stories to pick from instead of the 30 or so stories in a day. So we'll take the top half of those stories, 30 to 45-ish in that range, and pick 10 stories that you deem conversational. And you deem them conversational by your engagement. Go to our feeds on Facebook and X. Facebook and X. Facebook.com/thisisconversationproject. X.com/th_conversation. What you're doing is you're looking at headlines and news articles from various sources all day, all night. Every 50 minutes, we have a new article posted there. And you tell us what stories by headlines or by hopefully reading the stories and engaging and commenting are worthy of having a big chat in a brand new update news story for Monday morning. We'll talk about all the weekend stories that you want to, or we think you want to, picking 10 from the top half of stories for the weekend. For the rest of the week, we'll pick you 8 stories, top half of a day, about 30 stories a day, so 15, 16 stories to choose from there going forward. If you disagree on the stories that we've picked, or you just want to say, hey, you did a good job, email me or comment in the video to let me know what I did right or what story you wish I would have talked about, especially for the live feeds of this thing's right here. Although I'm not technically live, it's recorded live to tape. You can comment in the chats there, and we can kind of go back and forth and see what's going there. So follow the feeds, Facebook and X. Email me at the conversation inbox at gmail.com for any comments, and look for these stories that pop up about every 50 minutes. Engage in them as you need to. The more you click the emoji faces of your love or your hate, the better chance of talking about it in the next iteration. I'm not sure why it took me 3 days, because we had Ground News as our sponsor for Monday. But for 4 days this week, this being the 4th day, I've been promoting another website, a bunch of newsletters I do. And for 3 of those days, somehow I was reading the actual slide yesterday and realized, oh, that's not right. I've been promoting it with the wrong name. So today, let's give it its propers. Let's put some respect on the name of my own website and my own newsletter, because it's my own. The newsletter goes along with the website Very Boring Investment Advice. The website, veryboringinvestmentadvice.com. It is written by me with the help of a little bit of some research from other articles and, yeah, some AI helping me kind of fill the gaps in the articles going back and forth. AI doing some of the research as well to help me format things going forward. But we are going through, the collective we go through very basic, very simple, very boring investment advice that can help people who are getting started get started without any hassle, and people who are in the throes of throwing money away because they're just doing crazy things, then maybe fix their actual advising, fix their actual work in advising. Now, I am not an advisor. There will be plenty of disclaimers on the website. Disclaimers here that this is not any sort of calls to action for you to buy, sell, trade, hold, whatever. The only call to action basically I give you is, here are some suggested stocks to look into. Here's how the market is working going forward. Here is some research on how these types of investings works. Here's how the markets are working right now. Here's how life is going, what we observed. And of course, the biggest call to action is checking out our sponsors there. The biggest one being Robinhood. I'm asking you to join Robinhood and get your free stock by going to thisisconversationproject.com/Robinhood. Get your free stock and sign up there and trade on your own. But I also offer ideas for trading on other handheld apps, if you will. I can't be sponsored by all of them, or by going to your broker and saying do these things. Now, other things I'm offering are resources. I have slides ready, a slide pitch deck ready for doing a webinar on different types of investing strategies. And I'm also working on a book on how to actually invest by yourself using apps like Robinhood and Stash and things like that. So this is for information purposes, for learning purposes. This is not an endorsement of anything other than saying we want to use Robinhood because I get a commission from it. But we want you to check out our website. Check out the website, veryboringbusinessadvice.com, or click the link inside of this presentation for the link straight to the landing page for the newsletters. Get the newsletters for 6 stocks to watch, a daily newsletter, a Monday through Friday newsletter on stocks to looking to as the trading day goes through, and the week that was, the market week that was, how things wrapped up during the week as well. Check those things out for yourself and learn more about your investing future going forward. Like I said many times through your disclaimer, I am not a professional in the means of giving advice for stocks, bonds, trades, anything like that. I am not a licensed broker. I am not anyone except a guy who has his own investments and does his own things and wants to research on his own. That is what we have here. That is all this is. Very boring business advice is boring business advice because I take very boring attempts into my actual work. Hopefully you will get something out of this. Maybe you'll follow some of my tips, maybe not. Remember, investments have a chance of losing every time you put some in there. They are not guaranteed to rise. They are more likely to go up and down, up and down. And it's over time where investments actually make you money. It's not about getting rich quick going forward. So all those disclaimers aside, check out my newsletter, check out my website, check out the books we're going to put out for this actual topic as the greater things going forward for More Better Media, LLC. We did a quick running of the gamut today, so we're going to try to do a quick rundown of the things we do for Friday. On Friday, of course, spend a lot of time promoting our partners. Number one, our website home is thisisaconversationproject.com, where you can find more details about what we do, how we do it. Quick love to the partners. These are people who go to our partnership page at buymeacoffee.com/JClevelandPayne. And they have offered up monthly subscriptions to help us keep things going here for the Conversation Project. So we appreciate them as well. There's also ways to do one-time donations as well. But these are people who have stuck their neck out to be a part of our News Nerd Nation and actually put forward some stuff in there. We've had these guys for quite some time. Hopefully you want to join them as well. If you deem us worthy, step by our website, click on the partnership page, and join them. This is Joy Winters at Spare Change level. Also, Harold Braxton at Cup of Coffee, Kobe Green at Cup of Coffee, Eldon Kidd at Cup of Coffee as well. Now, they get first dibs, if you will, of what's going on because I offer them up extra insights with an extra newsletter and extra video on how things are going throughout the week. But people who just want to be a part of the conversation can simply do it by emailing me at theconversationinbox@gmail.com. All comments, all concerns, all things are brought in. Now, the rundowns for the actual calls to action. Go to the website. Visit our partnership page. Consider being a partner. Visit our sponsors page and see more sponsors. All sponsors that we have that offer me money, offer them via a affiliate link. So when you buy from them, we get a click. Nothing is paid for these newsletters today, so you pay nothing for that website newsletter. I just want more people involved there. Maybe you buy something as an affiliate through the newsletters and their website from there. Follow me on the feeds and, of course, email me with your comments back and forth to go back and forth. The Conversation Project is a dialogue. It's not a monologue. It's a thing where we work together to make the best we can out of the news stories. We give you some insights for things going on that don't get produced as often or as well, I should say, in the mainstream media. We talked a lot about Signalgate here, but Signalgate was all the rage for 5 days last week when it was in the thing, and a lot of other stories didn't get picked up. We tend to fill the gap with some other stories, and we get help from you. We get help from you filling those gaps by asking you which stories are more important, more conversation than the others, and you give us help on that one. So help us out with that, with the feeds. Help me out with what I'm doing at the Conversation Project with the email address, and keep on showing up. Please consider being a partner. That's it for this edition and the week of things you might have heard. Friday, April 4th, 2025. We have the roundup of stories for the weekly roundup that will come out tomorrow. We will take 12 stories from the past week that we provided in this thing that need another look at or had some sort of very serious update that we didn't get back to inside here because we can't update every story that are interesting. And these are stories already vetted by you as conversational. So you tell me if they're even more conversational or less, and you can make that happen. You can engage via an email anytime you are in the moment to do that. So check that out anytime you want to. That will come down the same feeds, these same channels as this one right here. Follow us on our feeds, email us via the email address, and make sure you're staying limber, staying hydrated, staying on task are all the grand things you're here to do because life is a marathon. Please don't make it a sprint. Love you guys. Mean it. Wrapping things up, getting ready to do all the other things we do for the day to get onto it. Go to the full day at work because I don't have enough partners to make this a full-time gig yet. And prepping for the weekend stuff that happens. We don't stop posting on the weekends. We don't stop videoing on the weekends. We just do things more focused. So the weekly roundup plus a couple other hot takes just to make sure we're in the news is there as well. We have surpassed the 2,000 subscriber mark at YouTube. If you're there, subscribe as well so we can grow that one. Now we'll hit 2,000. Let's double it to 4 as fast as possible. We need your help. We need your love. We need hugs. Hugs are great. Subscriptions are hugs. Let me know what you want in the feeds, or let me know what you want in the emails. Comment as you will. Let me know what you want in chat. We're done for the day, done for the week. Back with more things you might not have heard coming up Monday morning. What 10 stories will make it through the weekend? We shall see.